Hello, I'm State Representative Todd McKenney from the 43rd Ohio House District. Welcome to Ohio in Focus.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of Ohio in Focus, a program that brings state government to you. I'm your host, Charles Willoughby, and we have with us today State Representative Todd McKenney, who serves the 43rd House District, which includes Summit and Portage counties. Thank you for joining us, Representative. Glad to have you here.
Charles, it's good to be with you. It's great to be here.
Well, why don't you talk to us a little bit about your background before becoming a state representative?
Sure. It seems like a long time ago, even though we've only been here for 5 months. It's been a busy term.
It has.
I grew up in Manchester, and that's where I live, and graduated from high school there and went to Hiram College in Portage County, and then down here to the Ohio State University College of Law. Graduated from law school and clerked for a federal judge, judged out in Akron for a couple of years. Went down to Black McCuskey, a law firm in Canton, and sensed that God had a calling on my life and went to the chapel, a large church in the Akron area, and served there for 14 years as a pastor, leading ministries and personal helps for people, international students and disabilities and sports and urban ministries, and felt like my time at the church was done, and was elected to a local New Franklin City Council, and then ran for state representative and was grateful to win in the last fall election in November, and serving for 5 months. I'm really enjoying it.
So from one call-in to the next, and we're glad to have you here.
Well, I really do. I would stress that. I think that in so many ways our different works really are callings, and whether it was the church or as a lawyer or in public service, all to do with integrity, I hope, and to consider what the needs and the best issues we can address will be.
If there's anything, an experience or something that you've done in your life that's inspired you to run for state representative, what would you say that would be?
That's a great question. I think I have seen the way other people have invested in my life and have sacrificed for me. And I consider this a very important time for Ohio, and for the sake of my children and for others. I knew we'd be facing some very difficult decisions this term, and I wanted to run. And I think if you have a long view of it, this is a great state, and we have a great history, and I want to see us do very well. So I'm happy to be applying myself to these issues.
Well, as we all know, there are some issues that are more prevalent. The economy and jobs are very important. Sure. But tell us more about what issues the 43rd House District is facing that may be unique or that you've dealt with firsthand.
43rd House District is a great district, and to try and picture it, sometimes I think of it as the Route 224 district, because it sort of starts around Manchester and Coventry, and then it runs due east. So we've got Greene and Springfield and Lakemore and Mogadore and Talmadge, and then 6 townships in Portage, all clustered around Route 224. And it's a suburban district, also some rural parts of it too, and then you get a city like Greene or Talmadge, which has more city issues. So we've got a number of issues. Jobs is when I was out going door to door, I talked to a lot of people about the fact of not just needing work, but needing work that could support their families with. So I think doing whatever we can to make this a good environment for jobs is really key.
And hopefully once the hopefully the economy starts to progress a little bit further and further. We're working on a budget, House Bill 153. But could you tell us some of the other bills or legislation you've worked on that you're particularly proud of or that you've gotten extremely involved with?
Sure. Yeah, there's for sure the budget is sort of the thing that keeps everybody's attention going, and we've got a lot going on in the budget this week, and we will next week. And I figured that would be hard, and it is. I was able to introduce and get passed, I think within 100 days, a first bill that renamed the college of the medical school out in Ritztown, where my brother went, to renamed it NeoMed, the Northeast Ohio Medical University. It's a good thing. Yeah. I think some other legislators were envious that I was able to get one done, and I said, well, if you're asking the state legislature to change the name of a school, that's an easy first bill to do. Yeah. But it was a great learning process, and I was able to sort of see how the process would go. I got to give testimony in committee and on the floor and different places. So I felt like it gave me a certain grounding to run one through. And it was good for the med school, and they wanted to do it before graduation so the pharmacy students can graduate with a new name.
It's, well, like you said, we've had a busy year, but it is also very impressive and great for you that you've gotten a bill passed already as your first term. Now, and that was House Bill 139?
It was, yeah.
Another bill that we've worked on that is still working through its process over in the Senate is House Bill 86, which deals with criminal sentencing. And could you discuss that a little bit for us?
Sure, and it's really an important bill. It has pretty broad bipartisan support. It has some concerns from prosecutors because it includes some provisions that permit people incarcerated with prison terms to earn credit for good behavior. And what the prosecutors are concerned about is that this will lead to not having a certainty in sentencing. And you've talked to Judge Slaby, and so you know that he was a prosecutor and a judge, and we think this is a good thing. Actually, this is something that we've been doing. The kinds of provisions in 86 are things we've been doing in Summit County for a while through the Oriana House. So this is community-based sentencing. The goal is, and the hope is, that it's not only less expensive, but that it's a better product to keep people closer to the community, to keep them out of places where they're in with harder core prisoners doing harder time, where they will learn harder things and come out and practice those things. So the hope is that more community-based, more, and with that then the hope that we can reintegrate people into society. One of the things I did while I was at the church was very much involved in prison ministry. So I've preached in churches, I've been involved in prison ministries. I've been involved on the other side and said to the prison ministries, look, we have got to do things for people when they get out, because they will get out, they've done their time, and we need to make it better for them when they get out, in the sense that we don't want them to commit more crimes. That's in our interest. And I think this bill does a better job of that than we have been doing. And people still need to do prison time. People still need to go to jail. But I think this strikes a better balance in terms of both, I think it's a way that we can be smarter on crime. And so I sense is that we're going to pass something, the governor's going to sign it, and it'll be better.
Well, we appreciate the experience that you've brought to the table, law clerk, and also your experience working with offenders or people in the prison system already. Right. So that's very important, and as well as the other judicial members in the Ohio House here. Another bill that we've worked on, or that you've gotten involved with, was House Bill 69, which deals with some of the public employee retirement systems. Could you discuss some of those issues, or how has that been progressing through this year?
Well, it has been one of the most interesting experiences. I'm on I think I'm on 4 committees, and Health and Aging is one of them. And, the legislature is charged with sort of responsibility and oversight for these public pensions. This is people's life's blood. These are our retired teachers, these are our retired police and fire and city workers. And we feel a strong sense of responsibility, again, across party lines. And the funds in Ohio are in much better shape than other funds across the nation. In some states, the states have, I think, unwisely borrowed from their pension funds. Well, they hit a budget gap, then they've got to pay it back, and then they've got issues. We don't have that here. At the same time, the good news is our retirees are living longer, and that means that we have to look at the long-term solvency of these plans. That's what House Bill 69 does. Yeah. And so we want to maintain as much of the benefit as we can, and at the same time make sure that that benefit's going to be available for the long term. So we've got 5 plans, and we've got grown-ups in every one of these plans, and they come in and they present the reforms. And the first thing we did, and I credit our leadership with this, that they said, we're not going to be able to require more money from employers toward these pensions, so we've got to find solutions to make them solvent, to deal with the losses that every pension plan suffered in the downturn in 08 and 09.
By employers, you mean the taxpayers?
The taxpayer, right. We cannot go, that's exactly right, Charles. The idea that we can't require additional contributions, so we got to find a way. And that usually means some adjustment in the reduction of benefits. And when you do it over the long term, it doesn't have to be severe, but it may mean that we're going to add time before you can retire as a public employee. Not severe time, but a year, 2. And we don't want that to just dump down on people either. We want we want that to be graduated in. So we've been working extensively and had, I think, 17 or 18 hearings already on the bill. But it's interesting, and I really enjoyed it. And my sense is after the budget gets finished that we'll go back to that, and we'll be able to craft something I think that is good for everybody.
Well, we hope that does progress, and I know that it's good to have a long-term, secure benefit program. I know within the public sector here there is all the retirement systems involved. When moving on from that, now that you've worked with committees, you've worked on legislation, got legislation passed, very busy in the district as well. Could you try and describe to us, if you can, a typical day here at the State House?
Sure. For me, a typical day starts about 5 in the morning in Manchester when I exercise and then get on the road and come down here. I get oatmeal at McDonald's and coffee, and then I'm down here around 9 o'clock and I start talking to people. I've already had 2 meetings this morning. I love doing things like this. I love talking to people. My sense is I'll talk to anybody and meet with anybody and listen. And that somebody praised me for that this morning. It was somebody from the Northeast Ohio Teachers Association, and we've had our disagreements. But he said, the thing I appreciate about you is you sit down, you listen to us, and they had an issue, and I think I can be helpful, and I will. And I think that's part of just good government. It means that we always talk to each other. We're always trying to find the best solution to problems. I talked to somebody else who is more of a think tank person, we're talking about local government reforms, giving local government options to do things less expensively. And I had some hard questions for him, and he had some interesting answers. And that's the interesting part about this, is you are learning about so much things that you really don't understand. Most of those meetings, maybe I'm talking to somebody from the Hospital Association or somebody who works for a nonprofit for healthcare. I'm trying to understand these issues that affect everybody's lives. And I realize everybody has a point of view, and I just ask them questions. And if there's anything, you realize you're talking to people that usually know a lot more than you do. Mm-hmm. And you have to ask questions. And you come to realize that there are certain people you may be able to trust because they give you a straight answer. And there are going to be some people who will tell you the truth from their perspective, but won't give you the full story. Well, you don't trust them as much. Sure. And so there's some relationship aspect to this. And so you spend a few hours in the morning doing that, then you go, we'll go into session in about 20 minutes from now, and then we're going to vote on several bills, and then we will, we'll break, and then I'll be in local government committee, and then I'll be chairing the Judiciary Committee today because our chairman's out and I'm the vice chairman. I'll be introducing a bill in there to reform nonprofits.
What other committees do you serve on as well?
Let me think. Local government, judiciary and ethics, and that's where all the civil government laws come through, and it's all pretty much lawyers. I enjoy them both. I like local government because mostly local government reforms and things are important to that. Health and aging, and then in addition to that, the Health and Aging Subcommittee on Pensions, and I'm on Commerce and Labor, and then I'm on the Policy Committee, which is a Wednesday morning committee that talks about, is this such a good idea or not? Sure. So those things are great.
So what, if you can, out of all the committee meetings and sessions and constituent work and just talking to people and everything else involved with this job, what do you enjoy most if you can pick out one particular part?
I enjoy all those things, but I love giving short speeches. And it's not just to hear myself talk, but and they're short because I figure people don't want to hear a lot from me. But we recently sent out a transportation company, and they're going to be shipped out to Afghanistan, and they're based at the Akron-Canton Airport. And it's really important to me that you come up with something significant to say. And what I said was the idea that I wish that our enemies didn't hate us so much. And I wish that people didn't preach hatred in the name of religion. And I wish that our enemies didn't think about ways, laying awake at night, thinking about ways to harm us. And I'm thinking about 9/11 and the sort of attacks that we've suffered. And I wish that evil could just be defeated and that everybody could live in peace. And I wish you didn't have to go. And that's the truth. I really don't want them to be exposed to harm. Yeah. But the truth is, if they don't go and fight for us, and if we don't support them, then none of those things that we wish for, all those things we hope for, they can't come true. They can't happen. And so I wish them well, and I wish them God's blessing, and thank them for their service. And I think those kinds of sincere, brief speeches are the most, because of the position, are important. And I think going into places where people don't agree with me is one of the most important things I do. And letting people tell me how much they disagree with me, and holding town hall meetings and breakfasts and other things, and listening to people. People have a right, because I'm their public representative, to tell me they disagree, to shout at me if they wish. And it's my job to offer them a reasoned reaction for what I do. And if I don't, to change my mind about something. But I think that's what the role of a public official is to put it in context and to tell people this is really important what you do. and to show value to that. And usually that's through a short 2-minute speech, because that's all people really want to hear.
Well, I can tell that there most certainly is a sense of service and to what you do. And for the people that you represent. And one way that they can, or that you can represent them, is to communicate with them. So what would be the best way for them to reach your office, to reach you personally, if you're in the district or if you're in the office here?
Every Monday morning from 7:30 to 8:30, I am somewhere in the district having breakfast. And usually it's a local diner place. So I think I've done like 10 or 12 of these already. And I love it. So I'm always on the lookout in my district for some great places to go. You know, so I was at Mencius and Green, I've been to Kinsey's Corners and Atwater. Somewhere I'm going to be having breakfast from 7:30 to 8:30 on Monday morning. So I think people want to personally sit down and talk to me. I've held several town hall meetings, and I like those, you know, and I've done them in Springfield and Talmadge, and I'll do more. But those tend to be, you know, these back and forth sort of, this is my idea, this is your idea. I like breakfast because we're over coffee. And I remember one breakfast, and this has happened a couple of times, where I'll have a retired teacher who is unhappy with the changes in Senate Bill 5, and they're letting me know it. And then I've got a Tea Party member who is saying, you know, we can't keep spending this much money on schools. And they're both coming to talk to me, and they start talking to each other. And I just sit there and listen. And I really do find it fascinating. Yeah. And thinking to myself, these people, they're normally not talking to each other. And I think the most important thing we do is we listen. And because of some of those meetings, you know, I've been influenced when people really sit down and talk to me, and I talk to them, and, you know, and try and explain myself. And I think that we owe it to people to be accessible and to respond to their questions.
Well, Representative, I appreciate you talking to me this morning. And we do have your office information, I believe, on the screen here, so they can contact you here at the State House as well. But we really appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day. Thank you very much.
It's great to be here.
We look forward to seeing you again on the next edition of Ohio in Focus, the program that brings state government to you. Thank you for joining us.